Hey everyone, I'm Jay.
I'm Sophia, and welcome to Witches Betwixt.
Today we have a special guest on the show, Ursa. They run a little personal blog, Facebook page called Litwick's Portal, and they are most known for their Pokemancy. Um, a topic I am highly interested in, and I have many questions about. Um, and as far as I know, Sophia. It looks like you and Ursa are kind of colleagues, friends. How did you two come to start speaking with each other?
We've known each other for a little bit. I found their page through a friend who I know through DKMU, and I just immediately was like, "This is incredible!" and reached out and was like, "You're awesome. Can we be friends?" And they were like, "Yeah, fuck yeah!" And I've just been like talking with them ever since, and they're like super chill and they really know their shit. So yeah, just kind of spontaneous internet connection. This is kind of how it works in
Yeah,
these
kind of like how
years.
me and you started talking. So that's cool.
Hmm.
Spontaneous internet connections for the win, for sure. So Ursa, I kind of want to introduce you to everybody. And I'm not going to do that really annoying thing that some interviewers do. Where it's like, tell me about yourself, and it's like, well, what the hell do where do you start there, right? So I am going to assume that you are a queer person, correct?
You could say that, yes.
Okay. Um, so do you generally use the term queer to kind of describe yourself?
If I have to describe myself,
Okay.
yes, but generally I'm, strange and mysterious.
Okay. So I'm just curious, like, because the interest that you have, like with Pokemancy, and what was the sort of the origin point of that particular interest? Your interest in the occult, or just any kind of like these strange and mysterious things that make you you. What was sort of the origin point of those things?
Well, I guess there's kind of multiple origins there, because I've
That's
been
fair.
into Pokemon itself as a whole, since I was, just a little kid. It's been a constant in my life ever since its inception, as a thing upwards of like 20 some years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as, my occult leanings and practice, I've been a practitioner since about high school, but didn't really get serious with my practice until after high school was over, and I ran away from home. I was homeless, and I was, doing the traveler thing,
Yeah.
hitchhiking and freight hopping across the U.S. And, had some interesting experience that kind of catapulted me down my personal path, working with other magicians and, meeting some possible, deity type archetypes, just random things.
Hmm.
But what got me into using Pokemon in my craft was, it feels really silly to actually, say thank you to CMG for doing things. But, I got into the Chaos Magic groups on Facebook in like 2015 at the behest of, one of my friends. And, that was around the time that Billy Brujo was really active and he was doing a lot with his Magic the Gathering. And, he was using the MTG cards for like divination and, for like various, like
Yeah.
going through the Kabbalah and stuff. And I love playing Magic. I've been playing that since, I was a teenager. So, seeing that really blew my mind, especially since, previous tarot workings had kind of left me slightly unfulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
If you've ever gotten a deck that kind of just didn't really vibe with you super well,
Yeah,
Um,
I feel that. It's actually kind of how I feel about the Rider Waite system as a whole. That's the one system I don't really connect with, actually. I usually prefer like Oracle cards or other systems.
yeah, definitely. It just it worked for me, but there was always just something very begrudging about it, like an oh, I guess,
Hmm.
you know, I'll tell you
Yeah.
what you want to know from like a lot of my readings. So, it while being accurate, it was still off-putting and didn't really seem to like mesh with my personality. So, watching Billy do his thing with that, kind of made me start thinking, well, you know, there's there's other systems out there, if this one, random guy on Facebook is, making his own system, then why can't I?
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I
Mhm.
started like piecing things together gradually, and like remembering, different like little nuances that I had seen throughout the years. And a lot of the archetypes and, um just different systems within Pokemon, they correspond really, really well to like actual tarot and stuff. So it seemed pretty natural to do that.
Yeah, because you have like the different there's dark Pokemon, fairy Pokemon, water, fire. That's very corresponding to the elements as we work within the occult, which is um something that we can definitely connect with instantly. Uh, and so when did you when did you start to create sort of like the framework for the Pokemancy system?
Um, I guess maybe 2016 to 2017 is when I really started studying and writing out a lot of stuff. And I mean, like my system, it's gradually evolving,
Oh
as
yeah,
Pokemon itself,
yeah.
is a constantly growing, egregore. So it's I can't even tell you how many notebooks I have just like sitting around my house. It's just like
Oh, I feel that. I have like six. It's like dream log that I don't use, two scrapbooks just for like writing notes and like drawing sigils, then like an actual proper drawing book, and then like, oh god, specific ones, and it's just a nightmare.
yeah, that isn't even going in the sketchbooks typically. Like that's a whole
Oh
other
yeah.
ball game to tackle there.
Um, so what about because you mentioned that you played Magic the Gathering, for the longest time, and you played it all through high school and stuff like that. So and you took inspiration from someone who's doing something similar with Magic the Gathering cards. So what was the I guess like the reason why you were like, okay, well, I'm gonna do this with Pokemon. What about the Pokemon really drew you to it? Was it just that it was like super accessible? Because you mentioned that you do love Pokemon. There's a lot of archetypes there, but like, what was sort of like the aha moment? What was your first read that like for you,
Um,
or
gosh,
maybe the first couple of readings, like the sort of like the first readings that you started doing with the system as it started to develop?
well, it's kind of funny actually, because I don't know if you're familiar with it, but there's a random Pokemon generator online,
Oh
and
yeah, is that the one that makes like the mashups or something like that?
well, there's that one, but
Okay.
there's one, and I do love that one. Apparently, there's actually a new one of those too that goes through all of the current generations of Pokemon instead
Those
of
are
just the
so
original.
funny.
They getting baked and doing those, I can't even tell you. I literally stayed up just completely high off my ass until like 4 o'clock in the morning and be like, this one's face is so stupid, I love
I,
it.
I I love mixing Kangaskhan with different Pokemon. I think I might have even said that one wrong, but it's like the kangaroo one. Oh, it's so funny.
I love that one. And like mixing
Hmm.
mixing Mr. Mime with anybody is
Oh
also
yeah. Yeah.
Mr. Mew.
slightly horrible and horrifying, but generally good for a laugh.
This reminds me is also like peak Surreal Valley. Just let me say that.
Definitely.
So,
Or sorry, Uncanny Valley. That's the term.
But my first reading I did for myself was actually I was using cards from a few different decks that I had at the time, because I had the Nicoletta Sicoli Oracle deck that I was using then, and that was kind of my primary.
mm-hmm.
And then a friend had gifted me this Bird of Prey Oracle, which is absolutely fucking gorgeous. And then, I had my Pokemon cards, and I had already, I don't remember. I want to say it was like the sun was what I had gotten, from my Sicoli deck. And then, the way the Bird of Prey Oracle works is that, it doesn't come with any book. None of the cards have any, written or pre-described meanings to them. It's all completely intuitively based.
That's cool. I actually really like that.
Yeah, it's great. They're a wonderful meditative tool. But with that one, funny to go back to what we were talking about earlier before recording. There was a cicada on the card, and yeah. And it's my favorite card out of that entire deck, and it says the sleeper must awaken on it. And I'm a huge sci-fi fan, so instantaneously my mind is like, Dune, yes.
I've seen you post pictures of that deck too. It's a really nice one.
It's absolutely beautiful, and I love the way the cards feel, because they're like that really nice thick cardboard with like the embossed ink in it.
Ooh, yeah.
I can like almost feel like that like tactile sensation just by you describing it.
Right? It's the best. Like, if you could describe a card as feeling sexy, that deck feels.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Ooh, baby, let me slip those sexy cards through my fingers.
Yeah, see, the sleeper must awaken. Shazam.
Oh.
Wonderful.
But the Pokemon card that I had drawn at the same time as those was Charmander.
Good old Charmander.
And it was super wholesome that it was just like, oh, like this is one of like the OG starter babies, and it was just like, oh well, okay, like let's look at what this represents. It's just like, technically he's a salamander, so it's just like, all right, we have our little baby fire elemental there, at the very first stage of its journey. And it's just like this budding passion, coming forth that has to be nurtured and protected. And, it just struck me as so fucking wholesome that it was just like, okay, clearly this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And then
that's a wonderful little message.
And that's really cool. It's one of the original like OG Gen 1 starter Pokemon that like popped up. That's really neat.
Yeah, it was nice. It, really heartwarming. And I mean, like, I have like shrine to Charmander in my bedroom.
Aww.
Just cause.
So like, I'm just gonna say I'm a yellow kid, so out of all the different Pokemon games, I got all the starters, so I can't pick between one. Everyone's like, who'd you pick? And I'm like, Pikachu, and I got them all, so F you, I love them all, don't make me pick between them.
That was the best part of Pokemon Yellow, is that you could get all 3 starters, and that blew my fucking mind as a kid. Like, I was just over the moon. Because my first one was Pokemon Red. That's the one that I had.
See, I was blue, and I actually still have like my OG blue cartridge and everything.
I do too. I have my my OG red cartridge. The battery thing for the save file don't work anymore. I was thinking about getting it fixed, but
oh my gosh,
my yellow was taken.
But I realized that I'm like old and I have trouble seeing like these tiny little Game Boy screens. I'm like, I think I'm just gonna play it on an emulator.
Yeah. Also,
them Game Boy screens are tiny.
But who'd y'all pick for your starters?
Ooh.
Um, gosh, I've done plays with all of them, but I want to say initially I was probably Charmander actually.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But see, like I have such love for all of them though.
I will say that in Pokemon Red, when I first played it as a kid, my starter was Squirtle. That's the one that I picked.
Ooh.
And I realized it made the first gym really easy. I was like, oh, Squirtles. So because I didn't understand types or anything like that at that point in the game, I just thought Squirtle was like super OP because I was able to blow through the first gym with just Squirtle. And I also made that mistake of like I overpowered like one Pokemon and like the rest of my Pokemon were like weak as shit.
Oh, everybody does that.
Yeah.
Just like help me.
Yeah.
Me.
But I will say my strategy in Pokemon Yellow for Brock, because it was always hard because you started with Pikachu, so you always had to get something else to go up against Brock's Rock types. So what I would do is I'd go in. Was it the Viridian Forest? It's the first forest that you go into, the Viridian Forest. I would catch a Caterpie, evolve it into Metapod, bring it up to Butterfree, because it was only you only get it to like level 11 or 12, and I would confusion the fuck out of his Pokemon. And I'd be like, "Fuck yeah!" Psychic
See, I
attacks.
gotta say that it's just like beautiful that you can actually like remember that
Yeah.
to that extent because like I feel like I have so much trauma and have done so many drugs in my life that I'm just like, fuck, what did I do?
Oh God. Yeah, I can relate at certain points.
Yeah.
Sometimes my memory is crisp. Sometimes it's like, did I do that? Oh my God, I'm sorry.
Right? It's like sometimes it's crisp and then sometimes it's crispy.
Oh,
fair. That's fair.
oh my God.
Oh man. So with Cartomancy then, so you always liked Cartomancy. That was like kind of your
Yes.
go-to in terms of like occult or magic-y kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much, honestly. You know, I mean, 'cause I mean, like even when I was homeless and like doing the traveling thing, it was just always like my friend circle, always playing Magic or sometimes playing Yu-Gi-Oh even.
Ah, Yu-Gi-Oh! That was my other one
Which
that
like
I loved.
I never got into actually
Yeah.
playing that,
Really?
but like I've played some like of the video game.
Hmm.
Like the DS versions of Yu-Gi-Oh, and I've
Mhm.
done like the dual system with that, but like I've never like straight up like it's time to let's pull our cards out and go. Like, I've only ever really like
Collected them.
used the battling system in Magic.
Oh, so you never
Everything
actually
else.
played the Pokemon game either then?
Not really, like I kind of feel like a poser because the first time probably since like middle school that I actually have like sat down and played the card game of it was like teach I can't even say teaching my kid how to play because it was more like learning at the same time as them.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I actually recently started playing it too. Because before, like, we would just buy I shouldn't even say we would buy. We would beg our parents to buy the pack. So sometimes we get a pack for birthday or Christmas or something. We never had like full decks of anything with Pokemon cards, and we would. It was like whoever had the higher HP value or something like that is the one who won. We play it like war. Like I play
See,
the war.
that's what I used to do too. Straight
Yeah.
up. That makes me feel so happy that I'm not like the only one that did that.
No, you're definitely not the only one. That's what we would do. I don't know what we did with the energy and like the trainer cards. I think we just put them to the side. Honestly, I really have no clue what we even did with
Same.
those. And it wasn't. Honestly, I think it was like a couple months ago. I was like, oh, I started playing the online version that they have of the Pokemon trading card game. I was like, I've never played this game. I should play it. And I played through it. I'm like, oh, this game's actually pretty simple. Like it's not very difficult. And it was nice because me and my friends were playing a ton of Magic, and Magic can be very like brain intensive.
Oh God, yeah.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, I was like, I just need a card game that I gotta think about a little bit, not a lot of bit, just a little bit. And yeah, Pokemon was cool. It was a
I
lot of fun.
need a
played, way
game
too
that
much
I'm not going
Magic.
to be yelling and possibly ending my friendships over.
Missing your triggers, like your friends like, oh, 3 turns ago, like, oh, this was like, no, dude, no, you missed it. You missed your trigger.
Yeah, I fuck up enough of my friendships without the need of a card game to help it happen,
Right?
Oh god. But at like one point in my life I did have more Magic the Gathering decks than years I had spent alive. Like I'm not kidding, I had like 28 decks when I was 25.
Ow.
Oh.
Not yeah, that's what happens when you play too much Magic the Gathering is you become the Magic the
You
Gathering.
become the gathering.
Become the Planeswalker.
It's
Hello,
really
Chandra.
it's really a shame that Scott couldn't be here for this recording, because I met Scott through our mutual friend Rick, and Rick was like, "Oh, you should meet my friend Scott." What did he say? Because they went to community college together, and he was like, "Yeah, this guy Scott that I started talking to at school, um, Rick had his Magic the Gathering deck with him. I guess he was playing with someone else, and then Scott at one point started like reading with the cards. He started doing like a reading, and that's the first like thing I ever heard about this person, Scott. So I just thought that was really funny. Um, that Magic the Gathering and Scott kind of went hand in hand, even though Scott doesn't even play. So I don't know.
See, that is pretty great, and I enjoy seeing people read, Magic cards, because it's not something that like I feel comfortable with, just because I play primarily like mono black, and like
Mhm.
all of my stuff has like death touch or like it's like that doesn't sound really wholesome. I don't know if I want to give somebody a reading with that. It's just like, oh, you're beautiful, you have vampire boobies, but you're gonna die right now.
And you're gonna be in a coffin. Oh, but it's a nice coffin.
You remind me of
The
my
best coffin.
it reminds me of my partner Joyce. Like, they'll look at cards and be like, "Oh, this card's really pretty," and then Joyce will just like wreck me in a game. Like, they'll just wreck face. I'm like, "Oh, okay, I love you too. Thanks, thanks for the
It's
spanking."
the heart of the cards. You need me both.
Exactly.
Which in the anime actually was just him cheating because that's what his Millennium thing lets him do.
Yeah, right.
It's like,
Fucker.
oh, by the way, my HGA says that you're a little bitch.
I'm gonna kill you now. Bye. Shadow Realm don't exist on the
In the Japanese version.
subs. Haha.
Yeah. So do you consider yourself a witch then, since you're like interested in magic the occult, or just like a magician, sorcerer? Like, what's the title you kind of give to your magical practicing self?
Um, I mean, I guess technically I say mage more than not,
Okay.
but usually I just refer to myself as a student.
A student.
There you
You
go.
know.
Like a
Well, I
student
mean,
of the
just like
occult.
it never
Always learning.
fucking stops, I mean,
It's true.
constantly reading, constantly trying to like expand my craft, because everything is, constantly expanding as it
Mhm.
does.
The only
You
path
know.
to mastery is constant study, so I feel that, and I can definitely understand and appreciate that take on it.
Virgo says what?
Woo woo.
So what point in the development of the Pokemancy sort of system did you start to be like, hey, I should start to share this with people? And I guess kind of like, put it into the Litwick's portal page that you've created for yourself. When did that kind of start to manifest?
Um, well, I'm gonna have to think about that for a second, because that was really during a pretty traumatic part of my life that really came into being. I was in a pretty abusive relationship with my ex-husband, and
I'm sorry.
oh no, it's it's cool.
I know
We're-
that phrase
we're
is
done
like
with that. But it seemed like a good idea to, really turn towards my friends group and, bounce things off of them, because I don't have a really close relationship with my biological family. And, at this point in my life, most of my friends, are practicing individuals. So, we would just like ping pong readings off of each other. And, after a certain point, I had a few friends, just give me some really encouraging words that were just like, like, you're not completely full of shit, actual thing that, has some merit to it.
Yeah, you're actually like, let me put it this way. I'm somebody who's extremely skeptical of divination, and in fact, I loathe most of them. You're the only diviner I actually trust. So take that for what it's worth.
Oh. And you've been being
Because,
so
like,
nice to me about it for like it's so wholesome. I always like see you commenting on my posts, and I mean, like, even like stuff like dating back from like a year ago now, which I guess we've been friends for almost 2 years at this point, I think.
yeah.
And
But you're like spot fucking on all the goddamn time. And like, I also love how you don't try and tell me what's going to happen in the future. You just like talk about today, It's like, mwah.
Well, I mean, because, I feel like one of the biggest, trying to think of the best way to word it. One of the things that helped me most in my magical practice was the realization that not only do I not really know shit about shit, but I am a conduit for other shit that does know shit.
That's a really interesting way to put that. I like that.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like, because I mean, there was a while there, I had, the whole ego thing, and, it was, well, nobody takes me seriously,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was like, well, why do I need to be taken seriously? Like, Pokemon was a thing born of, fun and whimsy and wonder, so why not let it be that? And, just let whatever comes from it come from it.
Yeah, I think I remember reading somewhere. I don't know the exact article, but I think the inspiration behind Pokemon was this guy. He was really into bug collecting as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was just really into collecting bugs, and that, like, made him happy. It brought him such joy, and he was like, "Oh, I can make like a game out of this. This idea of like collecting creatures." And I think that's like just the origin point of Pokemon itself is very wholesome. It's like, oh, I like to collect bugs.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, it's funny at the same time, because, you have something wholesome as, bug collecting, but also at the same time, like, parallels with like the Goetia and stuff, like literally like right off the bat.
Oh,
Yeah, because they draw from so many different, like, sources and folklore and cultures and everything like that. Like, these Pokemon are inspired. Like, some of the Pokemon they come up with are utterly ridiculous. Like when they're like an ice cream cone one or something like that.
Yeah,
like a trash
it's
can.
funny.
Yeah.
It's funny that you should mention that, because, like, my partner and I, like, as a whole, because I view them, as spirits unto themselves. Like, I genuinely do try, like, not to talk shit about Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
But I really hate that ice cream cone guy.
How do you feel about
Like,
the
I'm
trash
sorry.
one?
Like I get it, but it's obnoxious and it freaks me out. But see, Trubbish, like, I feel bad for it, but I still enjoy it better than the ice cream cone, because it's not giving me like the weird walleye thing. Like, I don't want, just food Pokemon in general kind of freak me out.
Yeah, because it kind of like opens up a whole other set of questions that you're like, but wait, I have questions about things. So like,
Even Ditto looks uncomfortably like gum.
It
Yeah,
does look like
and
gum.
that's the thing. It, like, in the new games, there's a lot of really cute Pokemon. There's definitely like some kawaii stuff going on there, and you have like this this one, like, I guess it's like a moose. Maybe.
In the Sword and Shield series?
Yes. Or I guess like a custard. But its name is, like alchemy. Like alchemy, but it's creamy and it's
alchemy. I'm gonna look it up right now. I need to see visual. It does look like a custard.
Yes, and like the one, like it's pre-evolution is interesting. It's very suggestive. I'm just saying.
Oh, interesting. Milky?
Yeah. Yes.
Huh. It's just like a blob.
It's like floating milk substance, and it's just very off-putting to me.
Yeah, it makes me a little uncomfortable.
Weird.
Slightly uncomfortable.
And then it turns into this thing with like
strawberries on it, like a sundae.
Yeah, this you're right. It does freak me out. It's like, eat me. You want to eat me?
Yeah,
but that would kill me.
It's like some weird, fucked up, like Alice in Wonderland level shit, and I'm not about it.
The idea of eating Pokemon was present in the games, and also in the cartoon.
Oh yeah,
eating Magikarps.
Yeah, they eat Magikarp. A Slowpoke tail.
No. And Slowpoke tail, yeah.
Yeah, Slowpoke tail was the one that like.
It's weird though, because it's just like, like they're actual like, animals, and I get that. And then it's just like, like animals that have this consciousness. But now you have conscious food.
Are you a vegan?
No. I mean, I have been off and on during my life, but it's just like it's very strange to me. Just
I really wanted to ask, like, if you had to eat a Pokemon, what Pokemon would you eat then?
Oh,
I didn't want to ask if you're vegan.
Great question.
Let me think about this real hard.
Absolutely, like most fucked up question you could possibly ask.
Oh man, I mean, would it have to be the ice cream cone one? Like,
but see, I don't even like vanilla ice cream. I got so sad the last time I went to Wendy's, and all they had was the vanilla Frosty.
I know, I don't understand when people are like only vanilla, and I'm like, but why? Why are you like that?
I feel like I want to eat that Dodo Pokemon, because Dodos are extinct anyways. I'm like, yeah, let me eat that fucker. Let's see what he tastes like. I like birds.
Yeah, chicken's good. Some fried Pidgey morning. I know.
No, you gotta let him at least get to Pidgeotto.
Oh right, yeah. Pidgeot is cool though. Pidgeot is badass looking.
They've got the Chad haircut.
Yeah. I wouldn't fuck with Pidgey.
Killing Pidgeys is like killing baby chicks. That's just not fair.
All I remember is when Pokemon Go first came out, like all I caught was like 10,000 fucking Pidgeys in that game, and I was like, y'all need to fix this game, because wow, if I get one more goddamn Pidgey, unsubscribe,
Right, I got Pokemon Go on this phone with my Groudon. Look at me, shiny Groudon at that.
See, I'm so happy. I finally just got the complete brain lapse there. Shiny Deoxys, and he's so cool.
Ooh, which version?
He looks like just like the standard.
Okay.
No, I would have to.
Because that one has like different modes. It's like defense, attack.
Yeah, and the attack form. Yeah, I want to say it's either. I want to say it's just like the standard form or the speed form. But
I do play enough Go even to know that you have to get that fucker from a raid. It's one of the special raids. I forget what they're called.
Yeah, like the long distance Delios or whatever, the remote raid.
Mm-hmm.
Which that I mean, honestly, has like I live in the middle of fucking nowhere, so I don't I don't get to do the raiding thing that much. So this whole remote raid, has really just made my life so much better.
Yeah, you don't have to like hop on 3 buses or like drive your car to like just go to a Pokemon Go raid. You don't have to.
Right? I mean, like, I live so much in the middle of nowhere that I can't get delivered to my house. So,
Oh, like where's your like? Do you have a like? What's your closest like Pokestop?
10 minutes from my house.
Damn, like walking or driving?
Driving.
Oh, that's rough. Yeah,
Yeah.
I fortunately live in Philly, so it's pretty populated over here.
I mean, I'm like 15 minutes away from Pennsylvania line, like towards where York is, but
Okay.
I'm like 5 minutes away from a state park, and there are no sidewalks in my town.
Okay. Well, yeah. That'll do it. That'll do it for sure. Because I think it's all based on population and like how they work everything in the game. I think that's how it's kind of worked out.
Yeah, I don't even know.
I don't know. I don't know the science behind Pokemon Go. All I know is that when we were playing, we had friends. I had friends over yesterday playing D&D, and in between turns, they were all just playing damn Pokemon Go. I was like, "Are we playing Pokemon Go or D&D? Like, what are we doing here? Like, come on."
Oh.
So with Litwick's portal that you've created, where did the name like where why that name? Curious.
Well, there was definitely some marijuana involved.
With all great as with all great ideas.
I was sitting and watching an episode of I guess it was Sun and Moon, or trying to think of what season they came out in.
Do you stay current with the anime as it comes out?
As much as somebody with Netflix and no technological skills can. Yeah. So sort of. But there is this episode where Ash and the crew it might have been before Sun and Moon, I think. But there's this old chateau, and it's completely overrun with a bunch of like Litwick and Chandelure and whatever the middle dude's name is. I can never remember. But it's just like this little like ghost Pokemon haven, and for some reason, like and his friends are like poking around in there, and Team Rocket ends up being in there too. And they transform it into, instead of looking like an old like abandoned shack, they transform it into like this beautiful mansion. And at like the end of this episode, like the climax to it is this huge battle where it's like Ash and Team Rocket and everybody, they're all teamed up because the ghost Pokemon have opened this portal to the ghost realm. And they're just like completely just draining the life force from everybody. And it's one of those things where it's like you either fight back and you win, or you die. And that's kind of been a very big theme in my life. You either fight back or you die. And it just it really clicked with me. And then like I read on like some of the symbolism like behind the Litwick and the Litwick family, and with them acting as a psychopomp and an initiator and a guide to a liminal space, and the next point in your life. It just, that was it.
Yeah, actually, I just looked up Litwick on Bulbapedia, and I have the Pokedex entry from Ash's Pokedex, I guess, in the cartoon for Litwick. So I could share that with if you think like that would be cool for people
Yeah,
to hear.
absolutely.
So this says so Litwick. Should I read it like the Pokedex? No, I'm just kidding. So Litwick, the candle Pokemon. Litwick appear to be helping to guide the way of people by illuminating areas that are darkened, but in reality, they are actually leading them to the ghost world. They feed off of the life energy of people and Pokemon and use it as fuel for the flames on their heads. That is actually pretty like metal as fuck, and very
Right.
occulty. Like, damn, Litwick, all right. So I guess that was like a like that symbolism really spoke to you for naming kind of like your it's a blog, right? It started as a personal blog.
I mean, I guess I don't even know. I kind of just do the thing and put it out there sort of shoddily because I don't really know what I'm doing.
That's fair. That's fair. That's kind of how this podcast got started. I kind of just like went to Scott's house and said, "Hey, we're recording a podcast." So I feel that. I'm
Yeah,
just looking here
I guess
on.
in some way it is a blog, but who knows?
So, do you have like a strong community following for your kind of like little community that you've created? Like, do you talk a lot with people that follow your pages? You have a lot of interaction.
I mean, I try to like as much as my mental state allows for it. I mean, generally I am slightly terrified of talking to people most of the
Oh
time,
no, are you
but
okay on this?
That's a mood.
oh no,
Okay,
I'm fine.
okay,
No,
good.
but I like to try to. I mean, when right after I really became serious with Litwick's Portal, my best friend at the time killed himself.
Mm,
And, it was, he was one of the people that, told me how like on point my craft was.
mm,
So it was one of those things that, like, after he passed away, it became really important to me to, continue doing what I was doing as a way to kind of help with my own mental health issues, but also, like, um, build a bridge between two communities that I really enjoyed being a part of. With like the Pokemon community and like the Chaos Magic community. Those are like two really really big parts of my life. So I know a lot of us struggle with our own personal issues. Like I like to like have a place where people that are like us don't have to feel so alone.
hmm. The vibe that
Yeah.
your particularly your Facebook page, like it's very welcoming. I notice like when you do your readings, the images that you put out are so stylized and they're so bright and like vibrant and happy and um I'm curious, like, how do you use a particular program to put them together, or like what's usually your process for putting one of these posts together?
Um, well, I get baked and I sit and I meditate for a few minutes, and I pull my cards and like dig around and write whatever you know I happen to think that they might mean up,
Mm-hmm.
and sort of create whatever background imagery or visualizations based on the overall feel that I get coming off of the card itself. I like it to kind of not necessarily act as an aura, but just a similar
Mhm.
sort of something to that lends, the visual aspect to the words that I'm trying to, come up with, I guess.
And I noticed you do a lot of research into like the historical inspiration behind a lot of these Pokemon and like the cultural and like a lot of the folklore that it comes from. And like how much time do you would you say like how much time do you put into a reading, especially the ones you post publicly?
Um, well, I mean, like, because this is stuff that I've researched for years at this point,
Mhm.
like a lot of it, is memorized up into a point, but
Okay.
a lot of it, I still have to go back and like double check because, I have that whole like imposter syndrome thing going on where
Yeah.
constantly
Yeah.
like second guessing myself, but also,
Mhm.
like I smoke a lot of pot too, so I'm just like, oh shit, I gotta double check my work, so I say something stupid. Um, but I mean, for like my daily stuff, it's usually like a half an hour, thinking of what I'm gonna write, and then like, 15-20 minutes of like fiddling around on a program with like whatever image I'm doing. And like with my images, I use Ibis Paint
Mhm.
and PixArt Pro on my phone.
Cool.
Like I'm I have a laptop, or I guess a Chromebook, which I guess is not the
Uh,
same
a pseudo
thing.
laptop, I guess.
Which is like really devastating to me because I didn't realize that like until I went to go download Steam and realized that
Yeah.
is not a thing because I really wanted to play Magic online with my friends that live down in like Georgia and stuff, and that didn't work out. It was really heartbreaking.
Yeah, a lot of people
Aw.
get disappointed when they buy a Chromebook and then they're like, "Wait, what do you mean it's not a laptop?" I'm like, "Well, I mean it is, but it isn't." Like it's like really it's like a weird it's a difficult thing to explain what it actually is.
It's an
Yeah,
Apple
it's
device. Oh, well, for fuck's sakes, bud.
the
With the Chromebook?
the easiest way to explain it is frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, the Chromebook
Oh,
it's
no, not.
just yeah, it's just Google
Yeah, that's
Chrome.
different.
It's just like you're limited to like only a browser. Like it's weird.
That's absurd.
Yeah.
Essentially, I mean, because like there have been multiple programs like probably like a few weeks ago because I'm like I said I'm like extremely bad with technology. I'm not good at all, but so I'm sitting here trying to download this program so I can like splice my videos for my YouTube channel together,
Mhm.
and for some reason like it's not downloading the actual program that I want. The only thing that keeps on opening is like Ibis Paint, but in different windows, and I'm just like, I don't know what this means. Somebody help me. Like I'm a slightly competent magician, but I don't know fuck all about computers.
So if you are an IT person out there and you would like to give some assistance, reach out to Ursa for sure.
Right? Please.
um, so I think that kind of wraps up all my questions that I kind of had about like the Pokemancy and stuff. I've kind of
Yeah,
like
I was kind of
exhausted.
waiting for you to
Yeah.
dive through your shotgun list.
Yeah, I did. I just had like a ton of questions about it because I thought it was just so cool and interesting because I like personally like and Sophia, this is not a shade thrown at you, and I know you like your you like the Rider Waite, right? Isn't that what you read, or you read the Thoth?
No.
You read the Thoth.
So I actually can't even just read Thoth as itself. I like to do hybrid between Thoth and Elder Futhark runes
Mm-hmm.
because I'd like a little bit more clarification on my cards, and I have a very specific method that I work with them where I do either 3 cards or 5 cards.
Mm-hmm.
So and it does not divine the future; it divines about a subject you ask, and like the center card is the question in specific. It like represents
Mm-hmm.
that, and then everything around that is like things or people influencing it with factors, so
Mm-hmm.
it talks about what you're going through and it doesn't tell you about like the future because I can't handle stuff that prophesizes. It upsets me. for reasons I've stated many times. But I
Yeah.
do not do the rider weight whatsoever. No,
Okay. For some reason in my head I
don't
thought you did.
dig it.
But I know there are plenty of
Nope.
people out there that like pretty much like that is the hill they will the hill they'll die on is rider weight or die, you know. And it's
It's because
just
some people think that like going with this image of what's associated with being the most archetypal witch is what
mhm.
gives them their strength. And like if that's what you truly like and works best for you, absolutely power to you, right? But there's no reason that like you lose the ability to enact change with will by using a different system or deck. That's absurd, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. People, I mean, you know how it is. It's an ego thing for a lot of
Oh
people.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a huge ego issue, especially in cult community. But yeah, I was gonna say like a lot of people they really swear by the rider weight, and I just personally I find it like the most boring of all of them.
It sucks.
I know. I feel like we might get our first piece of hate mail for me saying that, so I'll check the
Nah.
inbox for that.
And like a big thing too is it was like written and made by a woman who I actually know very little about and I should look up before even talking about right now. But and he basically just planted his name on it and said, "Look at me," and took credit for it. So I kind of have a sore spot about that as is, and
I actually did not know
don't
that.
really like it for divinatory purposes. Yeah, that's unless like what I was told about that was incorrect, but that's what I have been
Hmm.
informed about.
I actually
I
probably after
mean,
this I'm gonna look that. I'm gonna look that.
I feel like Crowley kind of did that to an extent too, though, with Lady
I
Harris's work, though.
probably, oh
And
yeah, that sounds like exactly what Crowley would do. Yeah.
and I mean, like, I don't even know that it was an intentional thing on his behalf. I mean, he's just, it's fucking Crowley. He's got to be all up in everybody's business. Look at me.
He did not
But
have chill.
I mean,
He was like, go
I
ahead.
love her work. She deserves so much more credit than she gets in
Hmm.
so many ways.
Yeah. So like I've been following your page for a while and I kind of want to talk about like individual Pokemon archetypes that stand out and really speak to you or like ones that pop up. And I had a couple of questions too. Like first off, I notice you occasionally have like one card or two cards in a reading. How does that work out? Like what makes you get the different numbers of cards with it?
Um, honestly, it's kind of it's just whatever I'm feeling for that day,
Okay.
realistically. Some days I'm led to do, some days, I could flip half a deck of cards at somebody, it just really depends on my mood, I guess.
Yeah. And I notice you also use the missing runes.
Yes, I really enjoy with the unknown.
Or the unknown, right? Do you want to touch on those?
I
Like,
love to, because they're a part of Pokemon that, like from the get-go were meant to be this mysterious thing, and there still, is not as much lore about them as there is, a lot of the other Pokemon, especially considering that, while they're considered, one type of Pokemon, you have one for, each letter of the alphabet, and then you have, punctuation runes as well. But, like when you look at their Pokédex entry, they're still only, viewed as, one Pokemon.
Yeah, they're like kind of like a they're
interesting.
like the one Pokemon collective that you find in the Pokemon like universe. They're like a collective of Pokemon. It's like almost like a hive mind, kind of is kind of like how they kind of
Yeah,
portray them as.
the way
Oh,
I kind of, view them in I guess I don't know if I consider it simplistic terms because what the fucking Kabbalah is simplistic, but to me it's almost like the Ein Sof of the Pokemon world. It's the
Hmm.
unmanifested godhood of Pokemon, because it's it's the word, it's creation itself. It just, it's separate. It hasn't, been called into being yet for the most part, because like occasionally you see Pokemon, in the quote unquote real world, where Ash and his friends are. But for the most part, they exist separate in their own dimension, away from everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's really only when I don't want to say needed, but when focused upon in some way, when a huge amount of will is focused in their general direction, is usually like when they seem to make an appearance, and like the third movie of Pokemon, is like a prime example of that, with the little girl who, like loses her mom and then her dad disappears, and it's pretty much just like freaking the fuck out, and just like is going through this book that she had been looking at with her father, that tells the story of like the legendary beasts and of the unknown self, and pretty much just like conjures them into being, and then next thing like there's this twisted crystal world, and her dad is Entei, and like just it's very very interesting, like the potential that these creatures have for like manifesting stuff in the Pokemon world.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of them, from what you've described in your cards, are like pseudo gods almost, like the divine beasts between like Suicune and Tai, and the lightning one that I can't remember.
Raikou, yeah.
Raikou, yeah. Um, they all like seem like divine archetypes of something that I completely don't understand. And then there's like Rayquaza, and then like Darkrai and Groudon and Kilgrave, and all of these like really huge archetypes. And I always kind of wanted to chalk that up to like Pokemon always needing to draw upon a bigger and bigger source of something to like one up itself each game. But it really does also kind of seem like they're building a whole world, and it's like there's different points of like God at even in the game, and it's interesting. So like, what's your kind of take on the whole Pokemon mythos of like the gods, and like do you utilize them and invoke them similar to angels for protections and do altars and spells with them like that?
I mean, I do. And before I go into that, to touch on what you were just saying with, them feeling the need to like, keep up with the Joneses, with each game that they put
Mm-hmm.
out. They did it again with Sword and Shield, not so much with Zacian and like Zazamenta, but with Eternatus, who is, at this point, the absolute largest, scale wise Pokemon that they have in existence,
Jesus.
who is based on, like the Ouroboros, but also like, really like has a lot of, similarities between like Karanzan and like, like Babylon herself, and it's just like it's fucking mind blowing. I'm just like
You
sitting
know,
here like playing this game, and like my kids just like, look at this fucking dragon, mom, and I'm just like, oh yeah, look at that dragon,
what I'm gonna say is it's like funny. We start off with like first generation Pokemon, which is like, Mew's the progenitor of all Pokemon. And then
Mm-hmm.
more keeps getting discovered, more keeps getting discovered. And it's funny how like they go from innocent, look at this, it's so wonderful. We're going around, we're practically catching bugs. It starts out with Caterpie and Pidgey. Next thing you know, welcome to God and Current Zone and Ouroboros and the nature of the universe. And you are literally doing that Shin Magai Tensei thing where you capture demons and fight God, and then except in this case you don't kill God, you take God into your Pokedex and you hang out like buddies and whoop whoop some other kids down the street's ass.
Right? Like, holy shit, I'm gonna go eat curry with this god
Oh
figure.
man.
I haven't finished Sword and Shield yet. So Eternatus. I looked up the Bulbapedia entry on this. There's no like Pokedex entry though that I can see here. But oh yeah, actually there is. All right, so here it is for Sword. Um the core on its chest absorbs energy emanating from the lands of the Galar region. This energy is what allows Eternatus to stay active. And then the shield entry says it was inside a meteorite that fell 20,000 years ago. There seems to be a connection between this Pokemon and the Dynamax phenomenon. So it's like literally like this alien dragon that came to Earth inside a meteor. Like that's fucking huge. Like even for
Right?
Pokemon
And
standards.
interestingly, like that's kind of a common theme in Pokemon, because with Black and White, we had kind of like 3 dragons that did
Yeah.
that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess technically 4, depending on like which mythos, because some people say that the original dragon, came down, and then there was 3 different dragons, and it just everybody gets a dragon,
You get a dragon, and you get a
Yeah.
dragon.
right?
Go
I
on,
mean,
take one.
I'm with it. I want a dragon.
Yeah, that sounds cool to me.
Here's a question. Which Pokemon do you think really speak to you on a personal basis? Like, for example, I really, really, really fucking relate to Lugia. There's another Pokemon as well, but I can't remember it off the top of my head because there's like fucking hundreds of them at this point, that I really relate to as well from what you've divined. But Lugia always stands out of like secluding themselves at the bottom of the sea to protect the world from like their emotions and like what they can
Right.
do because they wreak havoc. Because like, holy shit, that's me, and I can wreak havoc when I come out, and I know it, and I like, ah. So I fucking relate to that card a lot whenever it comes up. But like, what ones really speak to you personally and show up a lot in your own personal life?
Um, honestly, Baltoy shows up a lot for me, even though it's not something
Okay.
that like I genuinely like try to relate to, but it's constantly coming out of the cards for me, which is interesting, because they are, a little clay doll top, and in my
Mm-hmm.
personal research, I've come to find them as, a temperance card, which, balance is something that I do have issues with sometimes, keeping my footing and finding a good momentum, but also I really think Mimikyu a lot.
Oh, interesting. Is that about the imposter syndrome?
A little bit to an extent, but a lot of it deals with like like neglect and loathing, but also it's Z move that it has, like the let's snuggle forever, where it pretty much turns into like a fucking angry circus tent and like envelops everybody. There's like
Oh wow.
some very Lovecraftian vibes there. He's got like they've got like a real big like Haster feel to them, and what Lovecraftian those again been like a really big inspiration in my life. I've been reading that bastard since like middle school, so seeing parallels with
Yeah.
that you know was neat. But I do work with Pokemon like as how people like angels and like deities and stuff, like as a protector spirit. To me, Mimikyu would be somebody that looks out for somebody that, has been in the same position that the Mimikyu has been in. So to me, it's like the patron Pokemon of all of those people that, feel like they aren't noticed and, aren't cared for to the extent that they should be.
Oh wow, I can feel that.
And it just like how it hates Pikachu, you know, because it wants to be Pikachu kind of thing. But really, it's not even that it wants to be Pikachu. It wants to be accepted and loved for who it is, you know, and
Mhm.
it feels that it can't be, so it, you know, puts on this disguise, you know, and like as as a queer person, that's like my life, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
and like again, I pulled up the Bulbapedia on this because I'm not familiar with a lot of the newer Pokemon. I'm kind of catching up to the newer ones. But yeah, I'm reading through this. I'm like, oh God, like it's so like I'm feeling incredibly emotional. Like reading through this, like if so, it's a Pokemon, it's a Pokemon under a rag. So like, and this rag is stylized to look like Pikachu is what I'm seeing here.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. And then it says repairing the rag correctly is often so if the rag gets damaged, so it'll spend a lot of time repairing it. Repairing the rag correctly is often difficult for Mimikyu, so it cries a lot on the inside. And I was like, oh
Oh.
damn. Jeez.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't
sorry
think
to
Jesus.
sorry
Pokemon
to
gets
hear
dark.
that relatable.
No,
No, it
it's
is very
honestly it's great.
relatable.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, that's what I'm saying, you know, it's just
Mm.
like patron Pokemon there, you know, like
I feel like a lot of people could
it's
probably
hits the
identify.
heartstring.
Yeah. And Pokemon gets really dark. I really gotta wonder. I would love to interview like some of the people that like create these Pokemon, like where some of these inspirations come from. Like was someone having like a particularly bad bout of like imposter syndrome or something like that, and they're like, oh, I can sort of personify this or anthropomorphize this as a creature, and maybe that helped them deal with that feeling.
Right, definitely.
Probably, yeah. I mean, I think that goes on with any good degree of art is you like pour a very real human emotion into it, and that's what makes it like a good story or character or sigil or Pokemon, you know, is like that relatability. And I really do love how much lore there is behind every single Pokemon, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
uh Magikarp is always a really interesting one with me. Magikarp to Gyarados, because it's that whole, you know, sometimes you become the Dragon King shit of the river and you can swim up the waterfall, and sometimes you eat shit and you get eaten for dinner, you know, and you
Mm-hmm.
stay the carp your whole life, right? And it's this real holy shit, that's kind of life, you know, juxtaposition. That's just how I always saw it.
No, I couldn't agree more with you there. You know, and it's wholesome. Like I love Magikarp, you know, to me, like I would put them as like a strength card, you
Hmm.
know, with the whole, internal strength, you know, people portraying you as, you know, a weak person because they can't see what's on the inside, you know. They don't understand that, you know, there's more strength than just physical strength, you know. And it's just like you have this potential inside of you that, you know, like one day people are going to be like, "Oh, you know, picking on you one too many times," you know,
Yeah.
what what they think is this helpless, you know, individual finally like standing up for yourself and being like, "No, actually, fuck you, buddy."
Magikarp is probably like really relatable as like a trans way. Is like
Oh
you go
yeah.
through a good portion of your life kind of like floundering about trying to trying to just like do the thing you've been assigned to do, and you're like, something's not right
All you
here.
can do is splash.
Yeah. You just splash
It was
around.
not effective.
Yes. It's like me,
You
me
level up
try.
by proxy of your friends. They like throw you at something to take a hit, and then they like clean up the fight for you, and you like get a little stronger, and they're like, "Oh, good work."
Exactly.
All I can think of is like being like a younger trans person and like not being quite out to myself yet, and like I had this job interview at like a casino around here. It's for marketing. So it was post college, right? So um and my partner at the time and my mom and my sister were like, "Oh my god, you got to look good for this interview." And I'm like, "Okay, I want to wear a suit." And they were like, "Well, what kind of suit?" And I was like a suit, like with a tie and like pants and shit. And they're like, "Oh no, 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 no. Like you got to go like a Hillary Clinton power suit. That's what you got to do." And
Oh
they
no.
went out and they made me spend my own money. So first of all, what the hell? So they went out and they made me spend my own damn money on this very like I guess a woman's suit, a woman's business suit, and I couldn't have looked more like just ridiculous wearing this thing because I was like, this isn't right. And if I ever felt like a fucking Magikarp in my life, it was then because I was just floundering about in this interview like yeah, I was just so distracted by what I had forced myself to. Well, I guess maybe I had forced myself to wear, slash other people had forced myself to wear. And I was like, I, I just couldn't think. I couldn't talk. I couldn't do anything. And now it's funny because I recently just got a new job, and I went into that interview, and me as presenting as me and wearing what I need to wear and whatnot. I went in there and I was like, "Hey, I want a job," and they were like, "Okay, let's talk." And if I ever felt like a Gyarados, it was definitely in that moment of my life.
Right, and see that's wonderful. It's like I like to think of, other Pokemon than just, Sylveon as, being pro trans rights because, like the, the
Uh huh.
being trans is not always, and being queer, in general is not always feeling pretty and, like dainty and fucking happy all the time. Like sometimes it's a fucking fight to the death and people
Yeah.
aren't as keen to admit that sometimes. So, like sometimes we do need, these like aggressive fucking, spirits and, powers on our side, 'cause
The
we can't
Aggron or the
always, yeah,
Machamp.
yeah, we can't always be as, rough and tumble as we'd like to be, but there are definitely others that are willing to help us when we can't.
I had mentioned that you're kind of like the Oracle Delphi over there with Pokemon cards, and just being like, "Bitch, get the fuck out of here! I'm taking the role over," you know. Um, and I'm very down with that, and like the way that you do your divination is really great. How you talk about like effects and energies going on in the day rather than like precognitive divination. What led you more to like that style of divination rather than like you're gonna die, bitch?
Well, I mean, because why would I need to divine the fact that we're all gonna die? I mean, I already fucking know that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
But I mean more so like future prediction, you know? Because like some people are really doing that. Like they'll be like, okay, so this cycle, this is gonna happen, you know? Like, what do you think is the key difference there in predictive versus like, or even what would you say that your divination style is in that regard? Is it like emotional or like current based, you know?
definitely both of those things. But honestly, I guess I will go into a little story of why I don't like any sort of predictive divination and kind of like shy away from it. Um,
Yeah, that'd be great.
I think you and I have touched on in the past about Spotify and using that as a,
Oh
divinatory
my
aid
god.
and the intense things that brings forth.
Yeah.
And I want to say maybe it was around the same time that you and I actually became friends. Um one of my best friends killed himself.
Oh fuck, I'm sorry.
No, it's I mean, it is what it is. But
Yeah.
Spotify was kind of like hinting that to me for like a few weeks prior, through
Mhm.
various songs, and I didn't piece it together until like a week or two after. And, just the way things played out with that was a little bit too intense for my liking. So, I go with what I feel and what gets brought to me, and, just try and interpret the flow of things the best that I can, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like that's a wise and respectful way to do it, you know?
Because I mean, it's not the same kind of message every day. Some days, it's a more positive thing, and it's really working through, um, a lot of growth and a lot of shadow work, and then sometimes,
Yeah.
like, oh, well, that hurts every single part of my body ever. Ow. why why did you do this to me? And it's very strange because with Pokemon being an ever growing entity, as it were, there's just so many more ways to get called out, and they just keep on
Mhm.
coming out with new ways that are just like super hyper personal.
Yeah,
It's
and once you
fun.
kind of like
It's a good
tap into a
time.
hyper sigil like that, it grows. In my personal experience with stuff, even something as simple as like my friend playing Chrono Trigger to affect a spell on a deliberate playthrough, and how that like popped up into stuff in her life very strongly. Like, I can't imagine how much feedback you get out of like the universe through like different cards you come across, like that's probably got to be a bit of a trip. Do you ever feel like it's almost like divinity speaks to you through the cards when they like pop up, or does stuff like that happen?
There's definitely been a few instances of that, and it's one of those things where I could almost, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. It's like
Yeah,
having,
because like
a
divinity is a loaded word.
conversation, with, I guess like whoever I'm tapping into, it's like I'm having this immersive dialogue through the cards, and I really don't know the best way to describe it. It's almost like an inner monologue, like, I guess like how, when you're in a Gnostic state, tapping into like the HGA or something, but
Hmm.
you know, amusing conversational dialogues, something.
Yeah, it's interesting because like anything in the universe can kind of provide a feedback for divine insight. And I know divine's like a very loaded word, that's why I try to use it sparingly, but that's what we were talking about with like the Spotify prediction algorithm stuff. It's essentially like when the songs that you have in your predictive stuff popping up after listening to one song leads you into like messages about what's going on with your life and things like that. That's like what we're talking about for those who don't necessarily know. And
Right, for
it
sure.
and it kind of like pops up even in like magic cards. Like, I found a magic card called Search for Tomorrow that I have on my altar right now because it like fell out of my collection at like a perfect time when that's kind of like what I was doing. So I was like looking for a way forward in my life and in the world, and I was like, oh fuck man, I need this. So like I assume that happens a lot with you too, because that's kind of how it works, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no. I'm trying to think of who I actually have on my altar right now. I think most of what I have up there is I have a Ho-Oh, which I've been working with for a while, but I think everything else at this point is those really cool cards that Kyler makes. I don't know if you've seen them.
I may have seen them. If you're posting them on your page, I certainly would have.
I have in the past. I don't know. I think he's been busy doing stuff because I haven't seen him post any recently. But he makes really, really neat cards.
Cool.
And he sent me some in the mail, so I have them up there. So if you guys get a chance, you should check them out.
Yeah, definitely.
Sure he will be posting more sometime soon.
What are your favorite Pokemon to work with on like a magic sense then? Because like I was asking you earlier about if you like invoked Pokemon for like a ritualistic sense, and I'm just curious like what ones are really close to your heart?
I probably work with Lucario the most recently,
Yeah.
I guess. Just because, I've been doing a lot of shadow work and like personal unpacking with, you know, uh, dealing with like a Chiron in Aries. That transit there has brought like a lot of
Yeah.
childhood trauma up to like the forefront. So, been working with Lucario, but I also, I guess Spirit Tomb a lot for, some of like the more nasty stuff that needs to get done. But really, I guess the Unknown and Golurk have been my main ones lately.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've been really interested in, golem creation for a while. And I don't want to give any spoilers. I'm just going to say that if you have Netflix, the new season of Pokemon is up and should be watched because it's intense.
Oh, is that the Sun and Moon?
No, it's Journeys. It's the second half of that.
Journeys.
Yeah, no, Sun and Moon is great.
Yeah, I
Sun and
heard.
Moon honestly might be one of my favorite series at this point.
Yeah, I heard they were kind of shaking things up in Journeys. Like they were doing things in Journeys that they really haven't done in other seasons of Pokemon.
Yeah, I think it's gonna take me a few times of rewatching it as a whole now that, the second half of it is out. I think I'm gonna have to go back and watch everything from the beginning and kind of piece it all together again and see how I feel about it. Because I mean, there's a lot of really great info and things going on in that. But like I said, I don't want to do the spoilers thing, so I don't want to get too into that per se. But it's definitely
Fair.
worth checking out when you have a moment.
Yeah, for sure.
God, now I almost want spoilers just to like know.
Yeah, right.
I know you do. I can just like message those to you, but everybody else, I don't.
Honestly, I personally don't mind spoilers either because I don't know if Pokemon's probably one of those series I don't really mind spoilers about necessarily. But I could just like say in here, if you don't want Pokemon Journey spoilers, skip ahead a little bit.
Okay, that's fair. Well, there's a really spooky Gengar in there.
Oh.
You see the Gengar a little bit in the first half of the season, and it's they haven't. I mean, like in the original series, there was like a giant Gengar that was like supremely evil and had this intense battle and stuff. But they have Gengar in this season, and he's super spooky and like just very malicious, that really dark Gengar energy that you don't really see as much. There's usually that, at least like a slight playful trickster aspect to him, in every season that you do get to see him so far. But, in this, there's just this rage and, torment, just that true shadow entity there,
Yeah.
which, is exciting. There's definitely, a few spots there. There's a little cliffhanger with the Gengar, but there is also Golurk, which this was great. September 11th, I had posted my cards for the day was Golurk, and I don't I don't remember. I would have to check back and look. It was Golurk and somebody were my cards for the day on that day, which is the day that the second half of Journeys dropped here. And one of the episodes has Ash and Go go into this set of ruins and, solve a puzzle. And there's this giant orb that comes up out of the ground that turns into like a giant raid Pokemon version of Golurk, so it's like fucking gigantic.
Mm-hmm.
And if either of you are familiar with the story of the Golem of Pra.
I've
No?
heard that story, but I don't remember it actually.
Or I can't remember which rabbi his name was off the top of my head, but constructed this golem, to protect the city, and it ended up going haywire, and destroying shit, killing a bunch of people, just like fucking shit up, until it was, dismantled and like hidden away in an attic somewhere. And, in the episode that the Golurk is in, it's walking around doing its, giant automaton thing, and the seal on its chest, ends up falling off, and, it unleashes like this huge energy beam, that just like starts laser destroying everything.
Oh,
And,
Jesus.
little me over here is just like flapping in happiness. I'm like, yes. I'm like, Isaac gets the golem.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see Pokemon getting adult for a change,
Yeah, no,
It's
great. It's been a really like emotional season, but I've been enjoying it for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's not to say that like the rest of Pokemon isn't adult per se, because like I haven't watched any of it past the original series. I watched actually a little bit of Sun and Moon, like at the beginning, but not too much. It seemed really good though, and I really liked the direction that they were taking everything in. I just like, I'm not a TV person.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, there's a lot of TV that, my friends mentioned to me that I have absolutely no idea what they're talking about or want to talk about,
Now, as you can tell though, I'm a video game person because my Pokemon Go is like pretty on point. But
right?
even
I know you
that
get.
said, there's like
I was just talking about that earlier.
oh,
Like handed to me.
I do battle leagues. I'm like rank 5 in the battle leagues. I don't even know what that means. But there's people who like beat my ass like no tomorrow. So I figured like, oh, I'm like nowhere near meta. I don't even have like great Pokemon attack combos at like the the range we were playing at. But even with that said, I do like play a significant chunk of like battle and use what I have. So like all my Pokemon do have like the ideal move sets who I would actually end up using, aside from like maybe Haunch Crow. But like yeah, I'm pretty into my Pokemon Go. I'm like pushing for level 35 right now and doing daily raids if I can.
See, I'm getting there, but it's like part of it is living out in the middle of nowhere, puts me
Yeah.
at a slight disadvantage there.
Yeah, it ain't fair living in the cities and being able to just go like F off and get raids and get like Rayquaza, Groudon, and like everything from here to Timbuktu, Yeah, I was kind of like wanting to talk a little bit about just like significant Pokemon that almost show up as like omens as well. Because like for me, when I'm watching your divination, like Lugia shows up and really means a lot for me when it does. You pulled double Snorlax on a day where I slept for 12 hours. Like, what the fuck was that you did? Oh, holy! Like
Yeah.
double Snorlax.
That one for me too. I was just, well, see, and I don't remember how much detail I've gone into about like how much my working deck, so to speak, consists of. But I do try to not have doubles if I can avoid it, unless I find that there is like significant flavor text that I feel like would pertain to something, or unless it's like a really really cool card that I really like or something. So
Yeah.
I have a pretty sizable stack of cards that I'm working with. Like,
How many cards do you work with for your daily?
I'll send you a picture. Oh wait, I can do that while we're I need to count them again because I actually just got another booster the other day and I haven't updated my spreadsheet. But here, I'll send you a picture.
Hell yeah.
I just sent that on the messenger because I forgot that I could send it on the Discord like an idiot, but like, pretty decent sized box.
That is a hell of a big deck.
Right? So I mean, like, to pull two Snorlaxes out of that,
That's like 5 or 6 tarot decks or more.
Yeah, like I said, it's a decent amount of cards there.
Wow. And you also use like TMs as well, I've noticed sometimes, right?
Yeah, I have a few random ones. There was a while there where I didn't use any of like the trainer or like item cards or energy cards, but
Mm-hmm.
I guess probably like after a year of like really delving into my system, I started incorporating them 'cause I had a better understanding of how they would play into everything.
How do they play in?
I use, like, depending on what it is, I use it as like a modifier, like one of the ones that comes up sometimes is hustle belt, which, to
Oh
me,
yeah, I've seen that.
you know, uh kind of really ups the ante of the situation, it brings it more to the forefront, you gotta, buckle up because change is a common, lots of personal growth and inner strength being called into play there.
Yeah, kind of like the chariot almost.
Yes, absolutely.
God, Hustle Belt's my new favorite name for the chariot.
I like that. That's great. But going back to significant Pokemon, Delphox is one that, since you had mentioned the Oracle of Delphi earlier. Delphox is one of my favorites and actually represents the Oracle of Delphi, hence the name, Delphox.
Damn, I didn't even know that.
I do have the card floating around here somewhere. It's funny, I actually pulled out the one before it breaks in like 2 seconds ago because I'm currently looking through my cards to see which other one that, usually have some sort of importance in my personal life. Of course, Ursa Ring is a big one for me, at least.
Oh, yeah. And Litwick as well.
Yes, of course, Litwick. And it's great because one of the cards that I have of Ursa Ring has a little teddy Ursa, laying on top of its belly there. So, that's, to me, like a really, good familial bonding card, very positive.
Yeah.
Positive vibes going on there.
Yeah, you got that strong parent bear vibe going on.
Yeah, well, I love my little beans. They're really cool.
And protect them fiercely, just like an Ursa Ring. Brr, stay away, I'll get you.
Yeah, my little one is she's a lot like I am too. She's very protective of others and stands up when she feels that something is not the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah. So, Jay was kind of curious about talking about witchcraft and pop culture.
Yes, I was.
Yeah, I feel like those are kind of like the Pokemon side of the questions I had, and I'd love to kind of break into the just like pop culture and magic discussion because when we were doing the pre-recording of the episode, we had that really organic conversation when we were talking about like
Brave Little
Disney
Toaster.
and and oh my god, the Brave Little fucking Toaster, that trauma dump of a show, holy crap.
Yeah, the one and where they go to Mars, that one still.
Why do they go to Mars?
Somehow the baby ends up going there. Like, I want to say in like a laundry basket or something on accident.
Okay.
And they need to go and retrieve this infant child.
Because I always just accidentally launch my baby to Mars in a laundry basket.
What kind of
a daily occurrence.
In the 90s, weirder things have happened, I'm sure.
True.
I was gonna say, like, what kind of a bad acid trip is this where, like, a child goes to Mars and the household appliances are the ones who are tasked in retrieving said wayward child?
Okay, but the real question is, like, have you ever actually watched this film? Because it totally is
Not as an
like
adult.
a bad
Not as an adult.
trip.
I definitely remember watching it. I was very young, though.
Remember them singing? Of course they're singing, it's the Brave Little Toaster. There's going to be some sort of, like, horror show, musical going on. But, they're making, like, this big musical number about, like, planned obsolescence and about, how some appliance, whichever appliance is going to be like the next one to die, and I'm just like, oh my god,
it's dark,
right? Like, at this point, I wonder how many Brave Little Toaster movies there are, because I know there are a few, and I feel like I've only seen 2 of them, but I feel like there are more.
I feel like 90s were like generation mindfuck, because like I look at what my nephew gets now, and it's like fucking Paw Patrol,
Mm-hmm.
and Peppa Pig, and it's like that's fine. But
to be fair, though, I do love Peppa Pig.
Okay,
like,
that's and Peppa Pig is a sassy motherfucker. Like on that when he hangs up, the Peppa Pig hang up meme.
Yes, I love that. It's one of my favorites.
Oh, true. Peppa Pig is actually pretty tight, and I'm not a fan of Paw Patrol, but I'll sit with some Peppa Pig. But like we had fucking dark childhood cartoons, you know what I mean? Like we were talking about like Secret of Nim or Fievel Goes West, you know, like
Oh my
those type
gosh,
of movies
yes.
were ones that I watched, and like watching like mice run from their life from cats and stuff is just like this wildly real and visceral confrontation of like the outside world that you as a child are neither prepared nor equipped to handle, yet is immediately thrust into your worldview, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, like, even like to take it, I guess in a more fantasy, fictional way of things, like the last unicorn, like growing up with that, like that
I
gets
don't think I saw that
pretty.
one.
Oh my gosh, the last unicorn is very intense. It's beautiful, but it gets pretty dark.
Jesus. I can imagine, yeah. I see all the memes about like that horse in quicksand or mud or whatever it was.
Oh, what?
And
The never-ending story.
yeah, because I never was into that as a child. Um,
Oh my
and
gosh, I
everybody
love
else
the
is just
never-ending
traumatized to death
story.
about it.
The never-ending story is great.
Yeah. I feel like I should almost go back and rewatch a lot of these childhood movies with an adult lens, you know?
That
I
would be a cool
mean,
series.
definitely. I mean, because there's 3 movies of it,
Yeah.
and one of them
I def
has like baby Jack Black in it. So
What?
I love
yes,
Jack Black.
yes, no, the third never-ending story was like one of Jack Black's first acting roles, actually.
Wow.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, yes, and he plays like a little angry punk guy, and it's adorable.
That's like Dave Chappelle in Robin Hood Men with Tights. He's like, that's one of his first roles, and he's one of the main 3 characters in it, you know?
That's what's
Yeah, you
up.
you have to check this out. It's so cute. I mean, like
Yeah, I definitely
he
will.
plays such a total butt,
Yeah.
but it's adorable to see him that young, and he's all spunky and grumpy.
But I feel like generationally, it was almost like they were prepping us for how hard the world is gonna fuck us. They're like, "Hey, we got some shit planned for you kids. Don't you worry. Here's some real heavy, dark stuff to prepare you for what's up." Like I remember the thing that was the most intense and freaky thing to me as a child. Do you remember Fantasia?
I do.
Yeah, this Fantasia scared the shit out of me as a kid, but I still watched it all the time. I don't fucking know why. Maybe I think it was because I really liked music and stuff. But the scene that always was the most for me was like Mickey and the brooms,
Oh
you know?
yeah, yeah.
Oh man, and with
What's
them
up, Virgo brain?
multiplying and they gotta kill them, and it's like, oh man, it's intense. And also as a child I had this huge childhood fear of lava because
Me
I was
too.
like a childhood paranoid kid, and people told stories because also when you live in the mountains, like you're near mountains or volcanoes, right? And I lived near a deactivated volcano, Red Mountain. So we learned a lot about
Wow.
them. And yeah, and then there's like Mount St. Helena, a fair distance away from where I was, but it was on your mind. So like you as a kid hear that there's like volcanoes in the world that still could blow up, and you're fucking paranoid about it. And I was obsessed, obsessed with the idea that a volcano could like develop in a new location and destroy us at any time, or like natural disaster. Like that was my big thing as a kid, and it was because of Land Before Time and all those movies where like you
Oh
see
yeah.
like they're running from the T-Rexes that are all like and like it's all
Right.
red
Yeah.
everywhere, and there's
And
like
everything's
volcanoes
just like
going.
erupting behind them.
Oh God. And then they get to the paradise and it's all good, but then like it's not because like
10
obviously
minutes
they go on
later.
or 10 movies later.
Yeah, no kidding. Gosh, what is there,
Oh
like
my
14 of those now?
it is one of the most plentiful over milked childhood series in fucking literal existence.
I mean, I gotta give them credit, you know, like why not? Just go for
Yeah.
it.
Hey,
Is anybody
people
even
keep
still watching
watching.
them?
People keep watching. They'll keep making them.
I mean, here's the trick, right? The older kids like us,
We'll watch it for the
we
nostalgia.
had no. Like we watched like 1 through 4 maybe, and then we're like, all right, I'm too old. Fuck this shit, right? And then there's some new kids who are like, all right, well 5 to 8's gonna be my jam, but fuck everything after it, you know? And that's how they keep going, you know? Every generation gets their couple of Land Before Times before they're like, all right, fuck it, I'm out, man.
You just watch like about 4 or 5 of them, and you're like,
Yeah,
I'm a
it's like
teenager now. It's fine.
Yeah,
that's
but
the
I think
secret.
everybody still at least gets the first one. It's like we all get the first one, and then it's like whichever generational, ones after
Yeah,
Yeah,
you gotta watch
probably.
the OG one.
Or whichever one's in like the thrift store when your mom's like doing a ship like a shop and run, you know, oh shit,
Yeah.
number 5, let's grab that, right?
It's time
Yeah,
for your
no joke. Last time I went to the
You
thrift store, I got all of the Beethoven movies for my
Oh
son,
yeah.
yeah.
who is absolutely obsessed with Beethoven.
That's great.
So, oh
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not even fucking around. Thrift stores are where it's at if you're like trying to find old movies and stuff like that. Like
Oh yeah.
or deals in general. Like you can just be
yeah.
like, oh shit, there's this gem.
Right.
Get like DVDs for like $1.
hmm
I am all about that.
I was never really like a Disney kid, but like Alice in Wonderland was always like something that I kind of came back to.
There is so much magic in Alice in Wonderland, and I'm not even talking about just like the fantasy type magic, but like there's so
In
much
general, really.
symbolism to unpack in
It's
Alice
just
in
fucking
Wonderland.
weird watching it as a kid too, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that was probably one of the earliest movies I could probably remember. I think. What did
Mine is
Alice
My
in...
Little Pony and the Alvin and the Chipmunks World Tour movie. Those are my first
Aww.
two. You're like, damn, that's awfully specific.
See, I think the first movie that I legit remember was the second Care Bears movie. I don't
Oh
remember
yeah.
what the name of it is. It's like The Next Generation, maybe. But I remember it had the Care
Yeah.
Bear cousins because the horse was always my favorite. I also always really liked the bad guy. Well, I guess Care Bears has had multiple bad guys, but
Yeah.
No Heart I think was the one. It was him and Mr. Beastly, and he's just like this really angry wizard guy with like the dark blue robe and like super angry bushy eyebrows. And I really want to make like a T-shirt of him doing the different signs of the grades and stuff or something. Just something cool like that.
Yeah.
Ceremonial Care Bears magic. What's up?
I almost feel like childhood cartoons, they're almost like weird hyper sigils that like get
Essentially.
implanted into us for a very long time, because if you've ever done like any hallucinogenic tripping, like they come up big time when you're in the trips, right? Like
Mhm.
for some reason for me it's Fern Gully comes up a lot.
I love that movie.
um yeah. Yeah, I think it's like the hyper sigil of like, uh, they knew that we're the generation who is gonna have to like fight against the machine, and there's always been this whole like meme that it's like it's gonna be you or nobody, baby. And it's always been pointed at us as millennials, and it's really hard to escape in our media and in general. Like Hunger
Yeah, I
Games
was
or
just gonna
like
say we've been
Yeah,
fed
definitely.
Halo.
we've been fed so much of this like dystopian narrative or fighting against your oppressors sort of narrative. Like look at
Or constant impossible odds.
even in Harry Potter, you know, like this resurgence of
Hmm.
these evil people and these people that blindly followed this bad guy, you know, like he's back. And but you know, there's people.
Dolores Umbridge who takes over the ministry.
Yeah, right. You
For
know, it
sure.
almost if you look at those Harry Potter books, I mean, regardless of how you feel about J.K. Rowling, you know, those books exist. The story is what it is, and you know, she really presented a very interesting thing, and it was almost like when we were reading it as kids, we were like, oh well, that can't happen. There's no way. Like our world couldn't possibly be as, you know, ridiculous or blind as the wizards. And yet, you know, there's almost this sort of it almost seems like an allegory for things that are happening right now. So you might be onto something, Sophia. Like the things that we were raised on as kids, it's almost as if there was
Hmm.
some undercurrent of like, you're going to need this knowledge, you're going to need this inspiration in order to
Yeah.
move forward when you're
And
older.
like yeah, in between
Well, I mean,
like video
honestly, even
games.
Terminator to an extent, you know.
Oh
Oh
fuck
yeah.
yeah, Terminator's huge.
I mean, The
You know,
Matrix,
that
I
was
know
a
I
really
mention that
early
all the
one
time.
too.
Pardon?
I think
Pardon me, Ursa?
me and
I said
Ursa
that was a
kind
really
of,
early one for me too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No,
It's
it's
okay.
all
There's
good.
some kind of lag. I think we end up talking on top of each other. No, I was saying that you know, I mention The Matrix all the time, but it's another big one. You know, Sophia, you literally were talking of like, you know, the resurgence of the machine god, you know, like you know,
Oh,
taking over
don't even get me
everything. So,
started about the
right.
don't even get me started about the time traveling machine god basilisk shit. I want to scream every time I hear that fucker.
But I mean, look at The Matrix and the similarities between, you know, that. So, it's definitely it definitely makes you sit there and kind of ponder. That's for sure. Like who knew who knew what was up, and why did you decide to prep us through our media instead of just telling
So,
us to our faces?
I mean, I think that any artist who wants to write a story for a landscape generally sets something that'll be relevant for the people coming of age. And anybody who's reasonably able to look into like what's going on with the world can say, "Hey, the people running this shit are doing a terrible job. It's pretty fucked. And if we don't do something, we're doomed. So maybe we should reflect that awareness in our art media, right? And then you, as the child, receive that current, and then it drastically affects you, right? And like, I had a conversation with my roommate earlier, and it was like, I almost feel like with we as a generation, millennials, don't even have a plan to retire. We just expect to die, you know?
I mean,
It's hard.
essentially, yeah.
Yeah, it's even even me, like I'm 29. I just started at like a company, and I'm like, yeah, there's you have to like search and dig and ask and hunt people down, you know, to talk about 401ks and things like that, you know.
Yeah.
And I know people are in totally different positions where they don't even work for companies that even you know have that kind of conversation with them. Those plans just don't exist. Or some people, you know, do that kind of gig economy thing, and they don't have anything like that at all. So there's so much there's so much there to there's so much responsibility on there, and you know, not all of us just have that type of security.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's something that like I just write off as a general thing. I don't even think about it. I'm like, it's never something I'm gonna have access to.
I like when you were saying, Sophia, how like those movies, right? So it's almost like our because it's pop culture, right? So pop culture is on a generational basis. Pop culture changes upon pop culture means different things depending on the generation that is consuming the media, right? So
Absolutely.
it's tailored to each to age groups, really. I was actually just watching that documentary series called High Score that's on Netflix. We were watching a couple episodes of that. And they were talking about how Nintendo was marketed more towards younger kids, but Sega was marketed more towards teenagers, and that's why it went in a different direction. And so pop culture is a lot like that. It depends who's being targeted and who's being marketed to, and who's receiving those information, and those messages. And I liked when you were saying how it's a current, because I kind of view the different I guess generations of pop culture. I view those different generational blocks of time and media as like magical currents that you can tap into. Because if you watch, like there was an iconic movie, I feel like anyone who's a Star Wars fan should probably watch Spaceballs at one point, right? It's a parody
Ah,
of the original trilogy. And I watched it recently with a friend of mine. He's an older Gen Z, so like he's on the cusp between like where millennial ends and Gen Z starts. And we were watching Spaceballs, and like just some of the humor he got, it's some of it's timeless humor, especially if you like the Star Wars franchise, but some of it is very like very much suited to its time in which it was made. And like there was a scene with like there's like the Doublemint twins or something like that, and they're like, "Oh, I'm Charlie and I'm Marley," and he's like, "Oh, chew your gum," and like, and it's a joke that's just totally lost on a couple generations. It's a joke that's only really for like a specific set of people, and yet it's a movie that can still be enjoyed. So you can tap into that current while still existing in your own current, and it affects you even still, even though it's intended for a different audience. Which I
that
think
makes
is
sense.
crazy about the way that pop culture's energy and magic sort of seep into our psyches.
Yeah, that's definitely something. I and that's what I really like to like bring it back to the Pokemancy is it's like that deliberate application of something that's within our consciousness already is like a deliberate artistic method, like you have control over it and you work with it and build something really positive out of it.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
was I was thinking we could kind of wrap this up here. This is a conversation that can just keep going. This is not a conversation in which you're going to cover every movie, every game, every like media that you've ever consumed in your life and how it's
Oh my gosh,
affected
right.
your witchcraft. Like this is a conversation that could go on forever. Um, and I think it was cool that we talked a lot about Pokemon, because all three of us, I mean, we grew up with Pokemon. I still play Pokemon Go. I still, I'm still working through like I'm still playing Pokemon Shield, and I enjoy it. It's a formula that, from a gaming perspective, it's a formula that's so familiar, and it just makes you feel good when you play it. I've never played a Pokemon game in which I felt bad or angry. You know what I mean? There was never any negative
Right.
associations with
I'm not
Pokemon.
yelling at anything when I play this.
Right, like I'm just catching monsters and like battling other people, and it's fun and it's cool, and my Pokemon are my
Yeah.
friends. And it's a beautiful franchise that has so much energy built into it. I get, I know Sophia and even you, Ursa, you talk a lot about like egregores and sort of magic. Pokemon is that. It's just it's its own current, its own. It's grown into something, I think, beyond what its original conception of that idea was. Like it's
Oh,
just it's
absolutely.
grown
Absolutely.
way bigger than they could have ever thought it was going to be, which is awesome. And it's connect and it
And
brings so many people together.
it's
Yeah,
intergenerational too. Like my
it
nephew
is.
loves it.
Mm-hmm.
It's great being in like I'm in a bunch of the different random Pokemon groups on Facebook, and it's just like I see people like my parents' age, like
Mm-hmm.
talking about playing Pokemon with their families and stuff. And I mean, yeah, I even have memories of being a kid. Like one of my favorite memories, was going back when Wizards of the Coast actually had like a storefront out here.
Ah,
Like actually going to the mall and like, picking out Pokemon cards with my grandpa when he was still alive. And it was like one of my favorite memories,
Aw.
like it really does bring people together in a massive, massive scale.
right. And
Yeah.
if that's not magic, I mean, like, I don't know what is. This force that can exist that brings people together. I don't know how anyone could possibly argue that it doesn't have a magical property to it, that it is magic. It's a station of that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Absolutely.
um, and it's really great. It was really great to have you here, Ursa, to talk about Pokemon specifically, because that's your main jam, right? That's what you show on social media. That's what you really like to share with people is Pokemon. All the work that you do with the Pokemon, and I think you're doing really great work out there, because you're providing legitimacy to something that people, especially people that have more traditional quote unquote views on magic and witchcraft and tarot, um they might turn their nose up at, and you're providing legitimacy and justification for what these symbols mean, and I think that's great. Not everything has to be archaic. We don't always have to look to ancient symbols and old tarot cards and old ancient runes for knowledge and wisdom.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate you saying that. But it's interesting at the same time though. I've had a few messages, from people that have interacted with my page, saying that, you know, seeing that Pokemancy is a thing has, helped them in place of, not being able to access, tarot cards,
Right.
because sometimes, people circumstantially, cannot have them. And I get that, being in the
Mm-hmm.
witch in the broom closet, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak, is a very, very real thing. And I mean, like, granted, some parents are not keen on Pokemon either, but that's nowhere near as strict as it used to be in
Yeah.
any sense, so the likelihood of being able to own Pokemon cards is definitely a bigger, and more accessible reality than, getting tarot cards or like an oracle deck would be to some people.
Yeah, and
And
Or
I
even
also
think that's
over
really great.
Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
any
Even over
card game.
Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Well, I mean,
Yeah.
because Yu-Gi-Oh
Absolutely.
cards are like super arcane and mystic, and there's
Yeah.
like fucking Exaltia, and gods and shit on it. And I could see a Christian mom being like, no to Yu-Gi-Oh, but yes to Pokemon,
Yeah, because they're like
Right?
cute and cuddly, and they're bright and colorful, and they're.
And like, what are you gonna do? Stop your kid from doing everything and being a child? Pokemon's like, it's so morally neutral at this point.
I mean,
Right.
there are some people out there who just they don't
I,
they don't see the
you
same
can't
way we
you can't
do.
please everyone.
It's
You
true.
can't please everyone.
Yeah, very true. But yes, I think the general overall consensus would be Pokemon is probably one of the
Yeah.
least harmful of the card games that are out there. Card games. I would, like I said, I would love to continue this conversation, and I really expect that we will in future episodes. There's so much to talk about and unpack. Like in particular, I want to really get maybe get into an episode maybe about video games specifically. It's just talk about
Ooh.
comic books specifically, movies. We could maybe break it down into categories. I think that would be really fun. So this
The
is our
Yeah,
Mighty
I would
Ducks.
absolutely love to talk to
yes.
everybody again. That would be great.
So this is like our Pokemon episode slash. We delved a little bit into like animated and Disney movies, which I think is cool. But for
Yeah.
now, I think we can wrap up the conversation here. It was incredible to have Ursa on the show, and I hope everyone enjoyed this. This interview thing that we're doing. We're trying to get more people into the podcast, and we want to hear from our community. We want to hear from other witches out there doing stuff. Also, I say the word witches like in a very general term on this show. Just anyone who practices magic-y kind of things of that nature. That's
Or
just kind of the term I use.
spirituality,
Yeah,
if that's what you want to call it.
yeah. Um, But on this show, the words queer and the words witch are all always used very lovingly and positively. So, um, but for now, I think we're gonna wrap it up. Ursa, any last like little parting words or thoughts that you would like to leave to our listeners?
Just thank you for having me, and thank you for listening to the things that come out of my mouth.
Excellent. All right, Sophia.
Thanks for being here. You're great. That's what I have to say.
Thank you for having me. This was so lovely.
You can find Witches Betwixt on the big three social medias, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Our handle is Witches Betwixt, all one word, on all three platforms. We all check each one, except Twitter, which is exclusively run by me, Jay, but feel free to message us on any of them, and we'll get back to you. If you want to add your post to our online community, use the hashtag WBTWXT. The links to our official Facebook group, Discord server, and website are in the show notes below. So, does everyone have a beverage, a smoke, a drink, or whatever they need?
I have yogurt, Skittles, weed, water, and my bong. I'm good.
Before we
burrito.
start, are those any good? The Skittles, because that.
Yes.
So straight to me.
Okay. Get the big bag and just eat them one at a time. Don't suck on them. Chew them and like mash it up together and like enjoy the mixing of the Skittle and the yogurt coating.
That is some stoner shit right
I was gonna
there.
say, and make sure you're high.